is going, is going, super, super For today's video, I thought that I could share some movies that I have watched lately. I feel like they all fit the October spooky vibe. Most of these are kind of thrillers, more so than straight up horror, but that's kind of my thing. But I feel like all of these are pretty good, I did pull up the summary and synopsis of all of these to better articulate what these movies are all about, because I tend to be that kind of person where, like, I'll watch a movie, it's amazing, I can remember every little detail for about 1 to 2 days, and then it's like, poof, gone, like a dream, you know? So, and not to say that means that the movie was bad or anything, that's just how my mind works. Okay, so the first movie is The Watchers, and we have Dakota Fanning in this movie who plays the main character, Mina. And I will tell you a little summary. A young artist gets stranded in an extensive, immaculate forest in Western Ireland. I mean, such a stunning place. Overall, like, I loved the atmosphere. Even the forest, as creepy as it was. So where after finding shelter, she becomes trapped alongside 3 strangers, stalked by mysterious creatures each night. This forest isn't charted on any map. Every car breaks down at its tree line. Mina's is no different. Left stranded, she is forced into the dark woodland only to find a woman shouting, urging Mina to run into a concrete bunker. As the door slams behind her, the building is besieged by screams. Mina finds herself in a room with a wall of glass and an electric light that activates at nightfall. When the Watchers come above ground, these creatures emerge to observe their captive humans, and terrible things happen to anyone who doesn't reach the bunker in time. Now, Mina, she has this beautiful yellow bird. I believe that she works at a pet store, and so her job was to bring this beautiful bird to its owner. And she's also dealing with some things from her past, and I think that she needed that time to be isolated because, you know, she's just all in her head. And you do learn about her troubled past. So Mina, a pet shop employee carrying the wound become entangled in a hair-raising conspiracy. Now trapped inside a decaying woodland shelter with 3 perfect strangers, Mina is unaware that unseen creatures watch their every move with keen interest. Separated from the eerie unknown by a gleaming one-way mirror and a strict survival procedure, the group is always in grave danger. When resistance is futile, can the confined specimens outwit their captors and escape the Watcher's grasp? I'll give you a little spoiler, so if you don't want the spoiler, skip this part right here. You do get to see what the Watchers look like, and they're not very pretty. But essentially, they are fae. They are fairies. And they used to be beautiful, but I believe they were cursed. And of course, blame it on the humans, right? Because I guess the fae and the humans, they were once, living in beautiful harmony, but something happened and they were kind of shunned. And they're not very happy. Obviously, they don't like humans, right? And they are very good at holding grudges. Very good. But the fae, they have the capabilities of morphing into humans, so they observe and they learn the way of the humans, how one looks, how one moves, and they can mimic that. So they are mimickers, which is really also quite creepy in itself. But Mina, she has a twin, and something happened when she was younger, and she really grapples with that because she has a lot of guilt. Even though it did happen when she was young, she feels like it was her fault, and I'm not going to say too much about it because I think that's probably one of the most, besides learning about the Watchers and who they are, it's really about learning who Mina is and what she's dealing with, and I think that's kind of like the bigger picture in all of this in a way. So I think Rotten Tomato gave this like a 5.7 out of 10, and I agree. Like, I enjoyed some aspects of it, but it fell kind of flat, a little lackluster, and I don't know. I wasn't really, sorry about that, I really wasn't feeling the entire group, but that bird though, absolutely beautiful. I'm like, if I ever get a bird, which I love birds, guys, I used to raise lovebirds when I was younger, some of my best years, okay, was raising lovebirds, but they're loud, so, as a music artist, it's not that time, so, okay, so let's move on to the next shocked to see her in this. She is known for like her Broadway, her singing. I mean, she is just an incredible performer in general. So I guess she could do no wrong. But again, this movie got 4.9 out of 10. I'm just looking at that right now, and yeah, I would say that's pretty solid. I mean, I would give it a solid 5. But again, it was kind of like a little lackluster. But I will say I like the entire theme of it all. I found that to be quite different and refreshing. So maybe I would give it a 6, just because, you know, it's a little different. So let's see. So this tells the story of a chef who opens her first restaurant, where she battles kitchen chaos, a dubious investor, and self-doubt. But the pressure heats up thanks to the spirit of the estate's previous owner, who threatens to sabotage her. Okay, let's see. So, the protagonist of House of Spoils is a skilled chef who has been perfecting her craft under Marcello's famed tutelage in his restaurant for 7 years. Nevertheless, the time has come for her to leave the nest and open her own restaurant. Her dedication to her dreams is earnest enough for her to even turn down her boss's offer to double her salary. So, I mean, there's no question that she's good at what she does, but she wants to do her own thing, so much respect for that. So instead, she leaves his kitchen and drives upstate to meet with her business partner, Andreas, at the rundown house where she would be opening her venture. Meanwhile, she meets Lucia, who is eyeing the position of sous chef. Before they can make any decisions about the restaurant, the chef must impress the investors in a lunch meeting in 2 weeks. Yes, just 2 weeks. The chef begins working on the massive amount of TLC required on the house. The house is disgusting. I mean, from the outside, beautiful. It is huge. So she's focusing on all the fungus-infested corners and rotting gardens out back, and just trying to make it look presentable. And she only has 2 weeks. Not to mention, she has to figure out what the menu is going to look like. So it's a lot. It's a lot. Simultaneously, she must also conceive an ideal menu to dazzle Andreas and his associates. After immense hard work, she fixes the house and shapes the kitchen into perfection. And I mean, it's dazzling, it's sparkling, it's looking amazing. However, on the morning of the meeting with the investors, the chef finds that an intrusion of roaches has made it into her dough. Yuck. Worse yet, all her meal preps in the freezer have developed mold overnight. And this is a common theme, you know, she leaves an apple on the counter and within an hour or 2, it's moldy. What is happening, right? So she's noticed that, I mean, all the food is ruined, essentially. Although she attempts to cancel the meeting, she inevitably has to improvise a new menu through grocery store ingredients. And she has this helper. It's like a neighbor. He lives nearby, I believe. And, you know, he's been helping her, I believe, clean up the place. But he also selection for the menu doesn't inspire much confidence in the investors. So, despite the unforeseen challenges, Andreas puts the blame squarely on her shoulders. Still, she manages to convince him to give her another chance, unwilling to give up on her dream. Naturally, the turn of events, paired with the chef's bleary outing into the woods the previous night, turns up the dial on her stress levels. The same remains evident as she begins working on a new recipe with Lucia as her second in command. Eventually, after consistently failing to develop anything revolutionary, the chef decides to taste the pepperoncino she found earlier in the garden. A little pepper. Miraculously, the dishes the chef and the unwitting Lucia create with these innovative ingredients turn out to be incredibly delicious. Meanwhile, the chef also learns more about the house's previous owner through Alvin, which is the local teen who has been helping her. According to the town gossip, the old lady was a witch who lured women into her coven and partook in human sacrifices. Even though the protagonist rolls her eyes at the rumors, she continues to feel the old lady's presence in the house and even sees her from time to time. Still, despite the hurdles in her way, she manages to win over Andreas with her modified menu and looks down the barrel of her restaurant's upcoming opening night. And I mean, so she does kind of like forage from the garden that this witch has created, and the food, although it doesn't look appealing, it looks like literal twigs and dirt, and she's just concocted these, meals with these things. It tastes amazing. It's almost as if you magically can't even see what's on the plate because it tastes that good. And you do learn a little bit about the witch. At one point, the investor, because the chef does become a little unhinged, I'm not gonna lie. She's doing everything she could possibly do to ensure that this garden is well taken care of, which the witch in a way helps her out, because as long as she's taking care of her garden, she can use this garden and she's going to make these amazing meals. But once the chef decides, like, I don't want to be controlled by this witch anymore, everything goes to crap. Like, her meals are not as good. So anyways, the investors, they come back, they give her like a second chance, and she's kind of, again, unhinged at this moment. It's kind of like she's gone a little cuckoo. So her friend Andreas is like, I can't trust you, essentially, and like lures her into the wine room and then locks her in there. And so, she doesn't have control of what's going to happen, and essentially she's gonna lose her job as well. So she basically like can't let that happen, so she tries to escape. Anyways, I'm not gonna tell you the whole thing, but we do get a flashback of the witch, and it's kind of sad because, like most humans, it's the black and white thinking. And so I guess, the town was making these rumors that she was doing these like human sacrifices and blah blah blah, but really she was just taking from the land, creating like healing bombs, healing tinctures, things like that, and just healing women in one way or the other. It wasn't anything crazy, right? But say about that. But obviously, the witch isn't as bad as we suspect, or how they make her seem at first. In a way, this witch is still very territorial of her home and her garden and everything that she's created. And, you know, she still is upset, obviously, at what had happened to her. But, in a way, she's also trying to help the chef. So, that is the House of Spoils. Okay, next up we have Salem's Lot. And this is from Stephen King. So an author returns to his hometown of Jerusalem's Lot in a search of inspiration for his next book, only to discover that the townspeople are being attacked by a bloodthirsty vampire. So I guess this is a little more horror. Did it really scare me? I mean, the vampire didn't look nice, but it was semi-scary, I guess. What did they give this? 5.7 out of 10. Yeah. Ben Mears, a writer who spent part of his childhood in Jerusalem's Lot, Maine, also known as Salem's Lot, has returned after 25 years to write a book about the long-abandoned Marston house, where he had a bad experience as a child. He soon discovers that an ancient evil has also come to town and is turning the residents into vampires. He vows to stop the plague of undead and save the town. And I mean, that's pretty much it. It was, it was a good movie, but it didn't like knock my socks off or anything. But I do love a good vampire movie, and I've watched all of the Stephen King's films, like all of his re-adaptations of his books. So, my favorite character was the little boy. He was probably the baddest one of them all. Like, he was not scared of this vampire, and he pretty much saved his town. So, well, yes and no, because most of his town turned into vampires, unfortunately, but was he able to get the bad guy? Yeah. But yeah, so Salem's Lot. If you're into Stephen King, if you're into vampires, it's okay. Alright, next up we have Caddo Lake. Oh my goodness, this one was really, really, really good. This is like a, is it psychological thriller? Well, it's like a mystery thriller. Okay. So, let's see. And we have Dylan O'Brien. Okay. As the main character, so. Enough said, right? Like, you must watch. And we have Eliza Scanlon. So Dylan plays Paris and Eliza plays Ellie, and it's interesting because it's like two different timelines or period of time, I guess. Okay, so the story centers on Ellie, a teenager who constantly fights with her mother and is left home to stay at a friend's, and a 20-something man. It's funny how they say a 20-something man named Paris, who was in the car with his mother when she drove off a bridge, and that's like the first thing that you're gonna see. And she ends up remembers that she is now 3 days in the past. Like, she can literally see herself. In a panic, she returns to the lake and finds Anna, but this is 1 month in the past, when Anna had run off before because she had run off twice. It turns out that Caddo Lake has a time displacement phenomena that activates when water levels drop. Ellie goes back to the lake again in hope of finding Anna a second time, which would be the time that she would essentially be lost forever. So, meanwhile, we have Paris, played by Dylan O'Brien. So, it goes back and forth, which I love movies like that. I even like books like that as well. It keeps it interesting. Meanwhile, Paris is attempting to find out what caused his mother to have a seizure and drive off the bridge. Paris works dredging the lake, and one day he has an odd experience where he sees footprints on the dry part of the lake, and he ends up losing his hearing. When he returns to his boat, he finds a necklace stuck in the motor. It's the necklace his mother owned. Paris's former girlfriend returns, and they rekindle their relationship, but she has doubts about his story about there being a mystery within the lake. The stories converge when Paris returns to the lake and goes through portals that take him to 1952. There he finds a wounded Anna and gets her help before attempting to get back to his own time. Are you getting it all? I know it's a lot. 2003 is the time in which he has to go back. That's his time. Instead, he ends up in 2022, Ellie's time, which really saddens me because they never meet. So Ellie, okay, Paris is Ellie's father. Anna, who is Ellie's sister, is also Paris's mother. Okay? Yeah. Her grandmother is also her sister. Okay? That's a lot, right? I know. It's all very crazy because if you think about it, he's the one that set his existence, because when he finds Anna, he wounded Anna, he doesn't know what's going on. He sees these travelers and he gives Anna to them. Obviously, they don't know what's going on. They don't know that she's not from this time period. They take her and she ends up staying there in this time. And she lives her life in the 50s, 60s, 70s. So, she's never again seen by Ellie, right? And by that time, she has already passed, because in early 2000s, 2003, I'm guessing, or a little earlier than that, she dies in the car accident. So, it's all very wild. Now that I think about it, I'm not quite sure if Anna is a half-sister or a step-sister, because it's really wild, because, Paris is with Celeste, and Celeste would be Anna's mother, or stepmother if Wikipedia has it right, but I was always under the assumption that Anna was her daughter, but I could be completely wrong. We never see Anna's mom, so that's why I'm like, I just thought Celeste was her mom. But But if Celeste is her mom, it's kind of strange because she gives birth to Paris's mom. It is just a lot to wrap your head around. And I even made like this family tree because I needed to figure out like how everyone is related. But in the end, it's really sad because, you know, Ellie struggles with a relationship with not only her mom but also her stepdad, and she obviously realizes where Anna is because she goes to, I believe, like a library or whatnot, and she looks up Anna and all of her yearbooks, and she sees her like progressively getting older and, you know, seeing her life basically over the years, and she realizes that her stepdad is her family. You know, that's her family because Anna is her grandma. Okay, so yeah, and then she tells him, she's like, we're family. We are family, and she's okay. She's okay. And I think that they all eventually come to terms with this, even though it's absolutely wild. Yeah, the ending is really, really sad though, so bear that in mind. Bear that in mind. But it's so good, so that's like my number one, and I would absolutely give it like a 10 out of 10. I don't know what this was rated. 6.9, no, 10 out of 10, okay? So good. Anyways, so lastly, oh, we have two more, I think. So this is Mr. Crockett. Oh my gosh, and this is a Hulu movie, and this is definitely creepy, okay? It gives you all the creepy vibes. It's like Sesame Street gone wrong, okay? So, a mother embarks on a perilous quest to rescue her son from a demonic children's show host who is kidnapping kids, like literally coming out of the VHS tape machine and snatching these kids, okay? But not only that, like torturing the parent too, and completely, okay? So, in 1993, a mysterious children's show host, Mr. Crockett, magically emerges from television sets to kidnap young children, brutally slaying their parents in the process. After Mr. Crockett snatches her son, it doesn't even say the mother's name, but snatches a mother's son, one determined mother embarks on a perilous quest to track down the demonic entertainer and rescue her boy. So, basically, Mr. Crockett has issues with any parent that is neglectful or that is abusive in some way. Just a bad parent in his eyes. And so, you know, these kids are like enthralled in the Mr. Crockett show. It's like they've been hypnotized almost. And I don't know how these parents are getting the Mr. Crockett VHS tape to begin with, but somehow they show up at their door and, you know, they pop in the tape not thinking anything, but Mr. Crockett is always watching, he's always lurking, and as soon as he sees something he doesn't like as he should. This mother is kind of at her wit's end. You can see that she's tried almost everything and is trying to get her son to, express himself in a much more helpful way. But no matter what, he's just not about it. He's very disrespectful. He doesn't listen. Whatever she says, he does the opposite, essentially. And so she says something that she probably shouldn't say, but she's like, I quit being your mother. And guess who's listening? Mr. Crockett. He doesn't do anything to her, but he does takes the son. And so she figures out a way to get into Mr. Crockett's world, which is eerie and disgusting. His whole world is just very, very dark, and the puppets are just so creepy. So, anyways, she literally is the most determined mother because she gets the job done. So, that's all I will say about that. So, now we have two more. Trap got a 5.9 out of 10. This was pretty good. So, this is about a father who is played by Josh Hartnett and his teen daughter, and they attend a pop concert only to realize they've entered the center of a dark and sinister event. That doesn't really tell you anything. That honestly throws you off. But so, Philadelphia firefighter Cooper Abbott takes his teenage daughter Riley to pop star Lady Raven's concert as a reward for her good grades. There, Cooper notices the unusually high police presence around the concert venue. He learns from a vendor named Jamie that the FBI plans to catch a serial killer known as the Butcher. Having learned he will be in attendance today, Cooper is revealed to be the Butcher himself. So, Josh Hartnett is the Butcher, he's the father, and, I guess two things could be true at the same time. You could be a horrible serial killer and an amazing father, in which he is. And we learn that he is the Butcher because he heads over to the bathroom, he whips out his phone, and he's checking footage. He's checking footage on his phone very secretly, and it is of his latest captive victim, Spencer. Spencer is in his basement, crying for his life. He steals Jamie's ID card and learns the passphrase that will identify him as an employee, using the card to gain access to a back room and steal a police radio. That's just a little bit of it. He does the absolute most. He knows that he needs to get backstage in order to escape all of this, and he does the absolute most. All while this is happening, there is a FBI profiler, and he could hear everything. Okay. So this FBI profiler is basically giving him a cheat code, because as she is telling everyone, okay, I think that he will do this now, and this is gonna happen next, he does the exact opposite, even though he probably would have done the things that she was saying. He knows, okay, well, that's not gonna work, can't do that. So he's always one step ahead of the game. And there is some twists and turns. So yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. So I'm not gonna give too much away. But that's pretty much it, and I think it was very well done. I thought that it was just going to stay in the concert, and I was like, that's kind of boring, like, that's it. But in fact, there's much more. There is much more. So, okay, so let's see. Oh, let's read this. This is pretty good. This is the same movie, Trap. So this is actually M. Night Shyamalan's movie, and he does play a little part in it because he always has to do that. Kind of ruins the movie a little bit for me. I'm like, side eye, like, why? But I get it. I get it. Thank you for your services. But I believe his daughter is Lady Raven, who I guess she sings, and she sings really, really well. So she's the pop star. So, okay. Everyone in Elar City is in a frenzy, but why? That's because they are up and ready to watch a concert performed by famous pop star Lady Raven. To her fans, a man named Cooper and his daughter Riley attend the concert with high spirits, but things slowly begin to change their tune. Amongst the screams of adoration and sounds of applause, the concert is off as a hidden identity, a front to fish out an infamous serial killer known as the Butcher. With his security cameras rigged, armies of policemen with weapons at the ready, and police vehicles surrounding the venue, will anyone survive their concert experience, or is there more to the Butcher than meets the eye? I mean, I pretty much said all that, but I like this little synopsis. Okay, and lastly we have Woman of the Hour. If you like true crime, this is going to be a good one. It's not a documentary. It is a movie. A period drama, crime drama. So, Anna Kendrick directed this, I believe, and she also plays in it. So, we have Cheryl Bradshaw, who is a single woman looking for a suitor on a hit 1970s TV show. I mean, she's not really looking for a suitor. She just needed to pay her rent, you know, so she went onto the show because her agent was like, well, we have this opening for this dating show, you know, it's gonna pay the bills, you want to do it? And she's like, sure. But she chooses a charming bachelor, Rodney Alcala. This is true. This is a true crime, okay? Unaware that behind the man's gentle facade, he hides a deadly secret. So Rodney Alcala, he was a serial killer. He killed women, and many at that. I think they said that he possibly could have killed over 100 women, and I think he went to jail for maybe 8. I don't know. I'm not quite sure, but so Women of the Hour is based on the stranger than fiction true story of Cheryl Bradshaw and Rodney movie, The Woman of the Hour, we have Cheryl Bradshaw, who is a struggling actress. You know, she is struggling to get any part. And eventually she ends up leaving Hollywood altogether because of this one experience. She said that after the show, I guess she went for a drink with Rodney, and she just had like really bad vibes, and she knew at that instant like he was just not a good person. She didn't know the extent of it, but she knew like, this guy, I'm not going anywhere with this guy, because I think they won like a paid trip to, I don't know, Cancun or something, you know, some probably like tropical place or what have you. And she was like, I'm not going, like, no. So after that, she was over it. So I think she moved out of, what was it, LA, and just, you know, turned her life around, you know, got married, had kids, and yeah. But you also see Rodney's side, and it shows a lot of his murders, and like how he would get the girl, or lure the girl to where he wanted her to be, and just do whatever with them. So it's really, really sad, and it's really eerie. Like, there's this one part where Cheryl this is after they have their drink, and where she immediately realizes like, oh, I made a bad decision choosing this guy. So she wants to kind of like slowly backtrack and leave the situation altogether, but she doesn't want to make a big scene because she knows that this guy is off, probably wouldn't take it well. He walks her back to the parking lot of the show, I believe, and like no one is there. It's like just her car in the middle of the parking lot, and so she's like trying to walk faster than him, but he's like kind of like catching up, because at this point he asks for her number, and she makes up some random number, but he's keen to that, so he's like, oh hey, so can you run by that number again? Like, can you tell me the number that you put down? And she's like, it's there. I wrote it down. And he's like, yeah, but like sometimes I mix my nines with my sixes, or I don't know what he said. And she's like, oh crap, because obviously she didn't actually give him her number, and he knows that. So he's basically like trying to get her. And then he's like, oh, so we're not going on that trip, right? And she's like, yeah, I'm not going anywhere with you. I'm not. And so that's when she starts walking past, trying to get to her car. But if he wanted to, he could have got her right there. And I mean, he could have, but what ended up happening was right when she gets to her car, he gets to her car as well, but people start coming out of like the back door, probably like the janitor or whatever, a couple janitors, and that pretty much saves her. So she's very, very lucky. Whether that incident actually happened, I don't know, but it was really, really scary. But yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. So those are all of the movies that I saw. I mean, I do have a couple others on my list that we're not going to talk about today, but one that you can check out is Tarot. I believe you can watch that on Netflix. It's like a group of kids. They go to this, I don't know biggest selling points at the dang pool. Like, I could care less about a pool. I'm gonna be so for real, so honest. Honestly, I wouldn't want to have a pool in my house. I don't want to have that responsibility if anything happens. You know, yeah, no, not for me. But yeah, there's like this entity in this pool, and yeah, something happens with that, like possesses the father, and just a lot of crazy things happen. And then what else? Oh, The Listener. The Listener was pretty good. I wouldn't say that it's scary, but it's about a woman who, she's a listener. She, late at night, she listens to people. It's like a hotline, you know, where people are struggling with things in their life, and you know, there's that kind of like looming feeling where people sound like they're at their wits' end, like they're contemplating, you know. And she just talks to so many different people within, I don't know, this movie was probably a little more than an hour. And yeah, it's just, I don't know if eerie is the word, but you just get this kind of like uneasy feeling throughout this entire movie, like, oh, I hope this person's gonna be okay, and you know, that kind of feeling. And it just takes you through the night. Just for her, it's like a normal work day, and it's very like stressful though. But she has a way with words and a way of helping people. So that was good. But you know, it's not like super action or anything like that. It's just her talking and her listening to these people and their stories and what they're dealing with and helping them off the ledge, essentially. So, and this is actually a show, but it's grotesquerie, and it started out really, really good. I finished the entire series, and I'm like, WTF, like, what did I actually watch? It's kind of like Lost, you know, like the show Lost. Like, did I literally waste my time? But the main character is Niecy Nash, and I love Niecy Nash. She could literally do no wrong, so I'm not gonna fault her on this. But I believe Ryan Murphy was probably the creator of grotesquerie, and she's a detective. She's trying to solve this serial killer case because there's this man just running loose, just killing these people in the most grotesque way, okay? But it deals with a lot of things. Niecy Nash, well, not Niecy Nash, but her character is an alcoholic, so it deals with that particular addiction. It also deals with her daughter who has an eating addiction. And her husband is in a coma, but I think that they were already in bad terms way before he ever got sick or was in a coma. So there's just a lot of different things going on. So there's this nun who I love. I love the nun who helps her with this case, because a lot of these murders have like this biblical undertone to it. So she also is like the journalist as well for these murders. And the priest, I believe, is like the editor within the church, of course. that the priest is played by the same actor who was Lyle in the Monsters show, who played one of the Menendez brothers, and he's phenomenal. Like, I really enjoy his acting. So everyone, in terms of like acting, was really, really good, except we have Travis Kelce in the show as well, and I'm like, that's when it became kind of a joke to me, because I'm like, why? So there's just a lot of things going on. You just have to watch it. You just have to watch it. So that's pretty much it.